Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is David from Daveden Web Dev, and on this channel I like to talk about all things WordPress, especially about accessibility and dynamic data. Please, if you can see me, if you can hear me, let me know in the comments, because I just got back to my live streaming. It's been a while, so my setup is a bit wonky, but yeah, we'll see how everything goes. Please let me just know in the comments, in the chat, just let us know if everything is sounding okay, and then just say hi, tell me where you're connecting from, and yeah, that's it. So while we wait for people to join in, let me just say that it's been a while. We've been waiting for the release of Builderius Pro, and finally it is almost at the finish line. So we're almost there when it's going to be released. So they were kind enough to send me an advanced copy to do some testing and to make sure that everything is okay. So what we'll be doing mostly today is me testing it out. I'll be showing you the features that I have found out. If there are any bugs, we will document it so that they can fix it before they finally do the public beta release. So yeah. Oh, hi, Alessandro. Thank you for joining in from Italy. Hi, team. Thank you for joining in. Yeah, so we'll be going on talking about Builderius. I've been really waiting for the pro version of Builderius, because the free version, when I saw the free version, it had so many features and I was like, wow, there's a lot of features. But then, I couldn't use it to the full potential because I couldn't edit templates for my custom post types and things like that. But now they've added the ability in the pro version, so you can edit your custom post types, you can edit your regular posts, your pages, you can use your custom CSS. I'll be showing you some of the nice features of the custom CSS. Oh, hi, Ahmed, I believe. Yeah. Thanks for joining in. Hi, Mohammed from Egypt. Thank you for joining in. So yeah, we'll be talking about the Builderius. And so there are 4 pillar features. Let me just quickly switch my glasses. I hope the other one is better because my eyes... Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a little better. Yeah, so there are 4 pillar features of Builderius that we'll be looking at. The first one is the templating options. The second is the custom CSS and the two-way sync with the custom CSS and the UI. The third will be the components, yes. And then the last one is about dynamic data and some things you can do with dynamic data that are not really known in other builders that I've seen. It has a lot of power, and basically some of the things that I've been using dynamic shortcodes to accomplish, you can just do them directly with the Builderius without the need for dynamic shortcodes and all of that. So that's something cool. So yeah, let's see. Now let me go ahead and just drop in the link for where you can download Builderius. It will be an affiliate link, so if you want to purchase Builderius, please use the link and then it will help me out. Yeah. Oh, hi Shanto. Yeah, my holiday was good. Basically, I went for a wedding, my friend's wedding. He might even be on the live stream today, and yeah, we had fun. I was one of the groomsmen, so we had lots of activities, lots of fun things to do there. So that's why I didn't bother thinking much about web design and my work. I kept all of that aside. Now I'm back, so we're back in business. So yeah, let me drop the link to where you can purchase Builderius. Let's see if I can type. Daveden. Yes, I believe that's the link. So we'll go ahead and and see it out. Okay, so let's quickly switch now to the Builderius now to my screen. So let me go ahead and switch it. And okay, yeah, I'm still figuring things out. Oh boy, okay. It looks like, oh, I haven't set up the sound on the, I think things have just gotten broken somehow. So my sound will go off for a little bit while I try to figure out why it's not showing up here. Oh, okay. So I'll just use this one. Yep. So basically, this is kind of like the website I've always been using. So it's just a simple design like this. And the idea is we want to test out a few features. So the templates for how to create templates for the, maybe like the recipes, how to add styles, how to use components to create reusable patterns, and what else? Yeah, and the dynamic data. So how to use dynamic data. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, so the beginning is, at the moment I'm using, if I go to my plugins, I'm using a few plugins. The first plugin is, so you can ignore all of these other plugins. They're just there for, just to like add some extras. But the main one is Builderius. At the moment I have 1.1 beta and then Builderius Pro 1.0 beta. So that's what we'll be using. Then I'm also using MetaBox to show you that you can pull in dynamic data into your website. And yeah, that's it. So with Builderius, the first basic thing you do is you want to create a template. But the way Builderius works is you build your website first in what's called a pseudo staging area. So as you're building the website, everything you're doing on the website, nobody is seeing it, only you are seeing it until you publish it live. That's what we call, you are creating a release, a live production environment. But first, when you are developing, you are in the dev environment, which you see here. When I switch over, you can see at the moment, if you look at the top, I'm in the dev environment. If I click on live site version, then I'm going into the live environment. So this is now the live environment, which is what everybody sees. Let me go to the front end. So this is what everybody will be seeing when they log into my site. This is the basic, I believe it is, what's it called? 2025 theme, the default 2025 theme. But when I'm editing the website, if I go to the development version, this is what I will be seeing. So I will be seeing the development version, while you all will be seeing the live version, until I publish it as a release. So to publish it as a release, all you do is you go over to Builderius, and then you go over to releases, and you simply create a release. So I can now say maybe 1.01, 1.0.1, and this tag will be like public. Then I'll say initial public release version. Okay. So create release and then publish. So now when you go over to the front end now, if I check the live version, so this is what you will see. I think it's a bit broken if you go to mobile, so please don't look at it on mobile, because I didn't do any styling on mobile. I just threw some CSS onto the page. But yeah, that is it. So now this is the release you see until I finish editing again. Once I finish editing, then I will now publish the next one, which will become the next release. So that's how it works. So first, once you are happy with your design, then you publish it as a release. Other than that, you just keep doing it in the development stage and you can quickly switch between different releases. So if I click on the first one, that now makes the previous version. If I refresh the page now, it goes back to the old release. So you can quickly switch between different branches, basically. So let's switch that. Okay. So that's it. That is in the free version. So that is not a pro version feature. This releases is a free version feature. So we'll now see what are the pro version features. One of them is the templates. So if you go over to templates, and then you see that I've created two templates. One is front page and the other one is pages. So this affects all of my pages. The other one affects my front page. If you do create templates, previously you would only have about 2 or 3 options. That's front page, you have all singulars, posts, pages, and then you'd have for the archive page, I think. Those are the only ones you'd have. But now you have access to more features, including what they call custom posts. So this custom post is how you now create template for your custom post types. But before we do that, let me go ahead and show you some other things that are there. So if you go over to home, you have to choose between 2 options. You either choose to use the Builderius, the framework for Builderius, or you choose your minimal framework. The minimal framework, what that does is that it basically gives you a blank slate. So you are like creating a page with nothing inside. It is no CSS, no JavaScript, nothing that is added by the builder. Everything is going to be by you yourself. While for the other one, which is the standard, that comes with the framework from the builder. So you have to just decide, do you want to have an empty slate where you put all of your own CSS, or you want to use the Builderius CSS? With the pro version, you can start with the Builderius CSS and then modify the CSS however you want very easily, and I'll show you that in a moment. So I think that is where we start. First, we'll start with the custom CSS, then we'll move over to the templates to show you how you can use the custom templates. Then we'll explore some dynamic data, and we'll do the components as well if there's time. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But yeah, let me switch back. So for this example, what I went with is the minimal setup. I just decided to go with the minimal. But in future videos, I'll be using the standard setup most of the time. So yeah, that is the first one. Then the next thing is I will now go over to my pages. There is just one tiny bug which I already notified the team and they're fixing it, is with the templates. Basically, when I do the front page template, I can't edit the page directly from the pages. I now have to go to my Builderius templates and edit the front page template. But that's just a minor bug. They'll fix it very soon. So you see an error here. It gives you errors to tell you where exactly anything is going wrong. You get to see it in the builder, but this is just a bug. It's not really an error. Okay, so this is the page that I created. Now, or let me just start with a blank page so that you see exactly what I mean. Let's go back and I'll go back to my releases. Since I already created a release, I'll go back to Builderius and then home. Let's close everything out. And I'll simply say minimal settings now. Install. So now watch what happens if I go to my templates. You see that the templates will be empty. So go to templates. We have no template. If I go to the releases, my releases will still be there because I saved releases. Otherwise, it's very important before you make some major changes, try to create a release and then that will be saved like a backup, basically. Then you can always switch back to that release whenever you want. But yeah, the first thing I'll do now is create a template for my front page because I want to edit the front page. Usually, ideally, you should start with the largest to the smallest template. So what I mean by that is start with your, what's it called? Your entire website template to create a fallback template. then you create your pages template, then your front page template, and so on. So go from general to most specific. But in this case, I'm just going to go straight to the front page template. So I'll say save and open. So we have our template. Because I said minimal setup, you can see everything is blank. There is nothing on the page. The page is a literal blank page. So you have to add everything yourself from scratch, which is one of the limitations of minimal. If you are a beginner or you want to go quickly, I will suggest you choose the standard setup, and then you just go directly from the standard, and it will come up with some templates already created and other things like that. So now, let's say we want to edit the template. Oh, hi, Lex. Thank you for joining in. So let's say we want to edit this template. You just go to when you see a green color, it means it's a component. So by default, you come with two components, the site header component and the site footer component. Those components are basically like the components are like shells. They don't have anything in the component, so it's a blank shell just for you to see it visually that it is a component. So yeah. Oh, Germanista. Yeah. Let me switch it. So yeah, I guess the idea that the first initial release is going to be focused on features. Once they finish with all of the features, then they'll start revamping all of the UI and everything, because there are so many other things that they need to fix in. But first, they want to give you like a developer mindset. So they give you all of the developer features, and then once they give you the developer features in the next, because I've already given them some suggestions as well. So they said first they want to finish with the core features. As long as that core framework or the core features are done, then they can start adding some changes like UI changes and adding some more UI things, because like you will see in my example, some of my examples will still have to write code, but soon they will start adding UI functionalities that you don't have to write code for some of the things I'll be doing. So yeah, that's it. Let's continue. Okay, so the next thing we would need to do now is, if you go over to selector, because I said I'll start with the CSS, custom CSS. So if you now go to selectors, you'd see that literally everything is blank. There is no CSS because I chose minimal setup. There is no CSS. But now where the power of the Pro version now comes in is that you can now basically drop in your entire framework CSS and start from there. So let me see if I don't have it here. I should have copied it out. But yeah, I was supposed to copy out my framework that I just created for the demo, but I forgot to copy it. But what happens is, if you want to add in your own like CSS framework, all you just do is you can either go manually and start typing here in the search bar under selectors. You can type it manually and say maybe it's asterisk or any kind of selector you want, maybe asterisk dot asterisk or asterisk column before, things like that. That is one way for the free version. The Pro version, there is now an option there that's called CSS on the top right of your left-hand side panel. If you click on that, it takes you to where you can now write your CSS in code rather than having to use the UI. And then the important bit is that the second tab is called All CSS. So if I click on that, that basically tells me every CSS that I have added to my page. So when you want to add your CSS framework, you simply just come into this All CSS portion and then you paste your CSS there, and that's it. Once you do that, your CSS will be loaded in the builder and you can access all of your classes, all of your CSS variables, and everything will be accessible once you paste it in the All CSS function. So in order to not, because I forgot to copy I should have copied my CSS, but since I didn't copy that CSS, I'm just going to go back now and we'll see the difference. So this was for minimal design. So I'll go back to my I'll go back to my home, and I'll choose this time. I'll choose the standard settings. Install it, and now see the difference. If I go now to the Builderius and templates, it comes with some pre-built templates. So we have the pages template, post template, archives, 404, blog index. So all of these templates will be pre-built for you. If you go to the home page, okay, so I'm still in this is the live, so let me go back to development. It will now come with a kind of template for you. So there's the header template with the logo. There was supposed to be a nav, but I changed the name of the nav menu, so that's why it's not picking up the nav correctly. But yeah, it will come with a logo, with a proper nav menu that's working, with a footer and a blank space for you to add your own content. Because the idea is that it is your content, so you add your own content. All they're just going to do is give you the skeletal framework in the template. So yeah. So now we have this. If I now go over and edit, let's go back to the templates. And I try to edit the template. What did I do? Okay, so let's go back to templates. And I try to edit maybe the pages template. Or let's just create a single. Yeah, let me just use the pages template. Open in Builderius. And I'll just switch to another page, maybe about page. So you can see now the same thing. We have that same structure of the site header, main, footer, but now the header has some content which you can edit. If we go over to selectors now, you see that there are lots of selectors that have been added. Before, it was just blank, but now you can see this blue dot or this white dot means that some information has been populated to that selector. This P has no dots, that means there was nothing added there. There's no style. So you can see now, if I go to root, or no, let me use something more useful, like maybe H1. I think there should be some style under the, under CSS variables, and they've added some variables into it. So you can see the variables that were added to the H1. If I go over to something like, let me look for button. Is it button or BTN? Can't remember now. Okay, BTN global. Let's click on that. You can see all of the styles that were added onto BTN global. And if you're having the pro version, you can click on CSS and you can see exactly what CSS was added. It's a two-way sync as well. So if I come in here and maybe either add another CSS, like maybe no, let me not use button, let me use the H1 so that it is, let me use something that is easy for us to see. So let's go to the page, add a section. So under elements, I'll add a section. If I hold shift, it will not close the inserter. So in the section, I'll click on container. I'll add maybe a heading and maybe a paragraph. So now let's say this heading, I give it a class. I have to deactivate the CSS first. Go to styles. You can actually add a class name directly from this. So basically, once you activate CSS, it will deactivate every other thing and just focus on styling. So you can add your class name, you can add your ID, and then you can style it. If we deactivate it, then you have the ability to change HTML features and style features, basically UI panel. So let's give it a class name of, let's say, hero heading, or maybe hero heading. Looks nice. So if I go to the UI, so under style, let's say I give it a, what do I do? Let's say I increase the typography, give it a font size of, if you press double hyphen, it will open the CSS variable for you. So I can now say maybe, I think it's text. Is it text size? Because I'm so used to my own framework that I don't really remember how the other ones work, but let's just use a regular value then. So I'll say something like 5 rem, just something like that. So I've added it here in the UI, 5 rem. If you click on the CSS, you also see there font size 5 rem. So I can change it. So let's say I change it to 6 rem, and maybe I add another thing like margin top 4 rem, something like that. I'm just doing some random figures. If I deactivate CSS, I come under my spacing. You see there 4 rem. So basically, it's a two-way sync. You can edit it in either the visual editor or in the CSS editor, and it works. If you are like me and then you want to maybe edit all of your CSS together at once, all you have to do is now come under selectors, select any of them, then click on the CSS, and then you have access to the all CSS. And that's where you see every CSS that was added to the page. Usually any new one that is added will be sent to the bottom. So if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you can see the hero heading that I added with the font size. So if I also change it here, it also changes everywhere that I've added it. So that is the sync. Basically, it's synced over across the pages and so on. And then one thing you should think about is one other nice feature is that there are 2 types of CSS. We have, in fact, for everything, for dynamic data, for CSS, everything, we always have these 2 options. There's the global, which means that it is saved across multiple pages, and then there is the template version, which means that that one is only going to affect that current page that you're working on or the current template you're working on. So let's say I want to add some CSS that is specific to this template. I can now come over to the template and say what did I style with? Okay, dot hero dash heading, and this time I'll say maybe the font size is 4 pixels. So the templates will override the global because template is more specific. So it will override the global CSS as long as they have the same CSS specificity. Hey, Jimmy, thank you for joining in. I'm finally back from my vacation. So yeah. Yep, so this is it. So you can basically create template-specific CSS and global CSS. And like someone mentioned in the Builderius Facebook group, they were saying that how was it? I don't know if it was the Builderius Facebook group or the Dynamic WordPress Facebook group, and they were talking about why is the CSS being added to the head, but that's actually the old version. I think this new version of Builderius, everything is added as an external style sheet. So if I go ahead and I view source, let's see, how do I view source? You see that there should be, I think it's called, let's just search for Builderius because I can't really see very well. And you can see we have Builderius front-end CSS, Builderius global CSS. So all of them are added as global style sheets. They're not really, previously they will be printed in the head, which is how I think full site editing and so many other builders like to do, that they'll print all of their entire CSS in the head. I think even Bricks does that a lot. But with Builderius, with the new version, the CSS is printed in a style sheet and it's loaded in order. So the global CSS first, then your local CSS is printed last, so that it basically has a higher priority. So yeah, that's it for the CSS. You can it's so cool. You can have that two-way sync. Oh, I zoomed in massively. And yeah, Jimmy, it's the pro version that we're taking a look at today. So yeah, this is the pro version. Okay, so that's what I was trying to show you with the CSS. And unlike other builders that are stuck with like having to add any kind of like any complex selector, some builders don't give you that option to add complex selectors. But with Builderius, you can add any complex selector under selectors. So if you just go over to selectors, you can add any kind of selector you want. So you can say dot header, the greater than sign, and anything like John, or no, dot John. Or you can add your data attributes or anything. Once you click it, it creates that selector, and you can style it either using the UI or, like I said, go to CSS, then all CSS, or let me first show you the all CSS, and then you can search for it. It should be somewhere at the bottom. So that's one way you can do it if you want to style all of your CSS. But if you just want to style a specific CSS, still using the code, all you do is just click on your selector. So you have to click on selectors first. Then you go to selectors CSS. That will now give you specific to that selector. So whatever selector you created, it will give you a specific CSS for that selector. So you can give it any kind of CSS you want. And there are two basic keys that you need to remember. The first one is called selector. That is when you are targeting the class. So it always targets the class that you are connected to. However, if you are working with like an element, let's say you're on this element now, there are the two options. We have one that's called local. So the moment I use local, this means I'm styling what people call the class ID. That is those auto-generated classes. In case you don't want to ever write your own class name yourself, sometimes it can be a bit stressful trying to come up with class names and all of that. I know even I get stressed a lot. I watched a video by Kevin Powell recently where he was talking about how some people overuse this ideology of BEM. So they start to BEM everything. They will BEM section. Even I am still guilty of that. I still do that. But he was just talking about how the whole BEMing convention is a bit like that. He has even stopped. He only does it for components-based elements. So like, let's say, I don't know if it was Kevin Powell or somebody else, but basically it's for component-based systems, like a card component, then he will BEM the card component. But like BEMing everything, your section, you now have section underscore something, then the inner wrapper, section underscore inner or wrapper or container, then the inner one, and so on and so forth. It's nice to do it, but he was like, it's sometimes it's just focus on how you can understand the naming better than just trying to follow everybody else's way of doing it. So yeah, it's all up to you. Yeah. So yeah, this is how we are with the CSS. I'm not really going to do much styling because today's feature is not really about showing you how to write styles. It's just showing you all of the features that are available. If there's still time, we might start trying out some different, maybe like creating a component. Yeah, we might try to create a component. Yes, that's one thing that we may have to style. But yeah, let's see. So this is for CSS. Now let me show you templates, then dynamic data, and then components. So let's switch back. And yeah. Okay, so for the templates, all you have to do is let me close all of these ones. I don't need them. Let's say I switch back to my other release. And so I'll go back to Builderius and releases. Let me go back to the old one that I had, which was, okay, this initial public version. I'll just say work on this release. So that will just basically take back what is in the development or like what is already in live and put it back into the dev version. So I'll click on that and say, yes, I want to work on this release. So now it has extracted everything back and put it back into the dev version. So if I go back to my templates now, it's back to the what I created initially. So 2 templates. Hi, Deckard and company. Yeah, I'm back from my holidays. So now I'll be back to my live streams and my videos again. So yeah. Let's see. so what I'm going to show you now is how to create for your custom post type, because right now I have a custom post type created with meta box. If I go over to my meta box and post types, you see I've created 3. Why my system keeps switching off one of my screens, because I put the wrong charger on the screen, or the wrong power cord, so it keeps tripping off. So, but yeah, I've created 3 components. So the first one is for recipe reviews, one is for recipe authors, and then one for recipe. So now I'm to create a style for the recipes, because at the moment the recipes, I don't think it has any kind of style on it. So let's see. Let me go to recipes and I just look at one of them. View. As you can see, it's just the default template that comes with I think this is the style from my 2025 theme, which is another thing I should mention before we continue, is that Builderius tries their best not to... Oh yeah, before I continue, let me just... been too busy since my return from vacation. I haven't been able to do any live streams or videos in general. Yeah, I understand. That's why I just scheduled this live stream as well, because I was feeling like I was not feeling that motivation to record a video. So I was like, I have to just push myself. So I just scheduled the live stream, and thankfully I was sent this release to test out. So yeah, it all worked out well for me. But yeah, like I was saying about how Builderius works, unlike other builders that tend to just take over everything, Builderius tries to only change the portion that you want it to change. So it kind of is compatible with other builders, because it tries not to interfere with other builders. So if you're using it's like an on and off switch. You're either using Builderius or you're using another builder. You can't use both of them on the same page, but they can both coexist on the same website, because Builderius will not touch anything that you don't give it permission to touch. So if you're like I'm showing now, I showed initially with the archive page, or no, the single post of my recipes, because I've not created a template for the recipes, it allows the theme to do whatever it wants. The moment I now create a template for my recipes, it will now take over from the theme and replace it with its own version. So that's something you should just watch out for. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to create a template for my recipes. So let's switch. Okay. So let's close that. So now to create a template, just go over to Builderius and then templates from your admin bar or your admin panel. So I'll create template. Then, like I said, only in the Pro version, you get this option for custom posts. But you still have to do something else, because once you click on custom posts, you see that this save and open does not still activate. Unlike other things like pages, the moment you click on a page, it will give you this option to save and open, because custom posts is too generic. You need what type of custom post are you trying to target. So when you click on custom post, you now have to click on advanced settings. So when I click on that, then I'll now give it a title and say maybe this is my recipe single template, or just single. And yeah, the location is custom post, but you now have to add a condition. So add condition. Now the condition, there are multiple conditions. So you can create a complex condition for each of your templates. In this case, it's just going to be basic. I just want to affect all of my recipes. But you can see if I zoom in a little bit, there is, you can choose a condition for post type, for the post parent, post ID, post name, post title, status, author, date. You can choose, is the user logged in? So you can create a template for logged in users versus non-logged in users for different kind of single posts. and so many other things. So you can do all of these, and yeah. So now we have conditions. Yeah, a message for Aina. He said that's not very intuitive. Yeah, I guess that's why we're doing this live stream, to give suggestions so how they can improve it. So what do you think should be done instead of doing this two-step process? What do you think should be a better solution? But yeah, the condition, so I'll say post type is equal to, and I'll just choose my recipe. You can do and, so this and that and that. So you can add multiple conditions and build up your conditions. So that is it. So I'll just say save and open. So now I've created my template for recipe, and it has chosen one of the recipes, which is avocado something. Yeah, egg salad. Or let me use classic waffles, something like that. Okay. So we can now start building out our template. First, we have this basic structure of our header, our main, and our footer. I haven't actually added any footer, so there's no footer on the page. But in the main is where we now start adding your elements. Builderius tries to give you like what you see is what you get type of thing. So you can have access directly to the main, unlike other builders where the main will be hidden. You know, to access the main, you have to go through some hoops or use some PHP filters and things like that. With Builderius, they expose everything to you. So it is a more developer-focused type of builder. It's not like it's still good for end users or like for end people, but it's more developer-focused. Yeah. So in the main, I can now start adding my sections. So maybe I'll add a header. So technically, you can have a header in a main. It will work because a main is, so basically a main is a sectioning element. So the moment you add a header or a footer into a sectioning element, that header is no longer a site header or a banner. It now becomes a header to the template. There's some rules regarding it. Some automated testing tools will still flag this as an error, but technically it's not an error. But yeah, I'm just going to use header. It doesn't really matter, but I'll just use header here. And then I'll add in a heading element. Right now, Builderius has taken some tips from other builders. So you no longer have to always go through this inserter. They've now added a simpler favorites option on the right-hand side, so that when you are editing your section with the navigator, you can just quickly see some of the elements. So from bottom to top, it starts with the section, then the container, then a div, heading, paragraph, image, link, and then the what's it called? The collections. So you can do that. So in the header, well, it's not, yeah, like you said, Fumbling Forward said, it is unnecessary to add the header. It's, so most of these HTML tags, that's before we even continue. See, most of these HTML tags, that's where some people get some things confusing or like wrong. A lot of the like sectioning based HTML tags, they don't really do much in terms of like accessibility or anything. Many of them are like, they are more focused on like when you are reading the code. So it gives you a better understanding of when you read the code. The code is more outlined, more structured. So some assistive technologies can use that structured code to come up with a better layout. But that's what somebody pointed out to me. I know I'm going off tangent, but like with these HTML tags, I know people are so obsessed with semantic HTML, which is good, but sometimes they don't do what you think they are doing. Like if you put a paragraph versus a div, technically they're the same thing, because they don't really, a paragraph doesn't really have any like semantic power that explains, like there's nothing special about a p tag versus a div. They're literally kind of the same, but for like reading purposes. So when you read the code, you read a P, you know that, okay, I'm using a paragraph. So it helps to really understand the code, and some assistive technologies will better present that code, and also for your styling purposes or CSS. So sometimes all of these use a section, not a div, use a P, not a div. It's good. I would always advocate use semantic HTML, but sometimes it's not what you think. Yeah, that's what I'm just going to say. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, the blue light on the on the back. Oh yeah, on my background. Yeah, okay. I'm just changing things up a little bit. Yeah. So let's continue. So, sorry for all of the off tangent talk. Let's go back. So yeah, let's say I'm adding a header, or like maybe I'll just put a section for every other person's sake, because a section will be easier. So let me delete that. So in the main tag, I'll just add a section. So that will add a section with a div container. Then within that container, let me add okay, I was trying to create a single post template. So let me just add a heading just to show you how the template and the dynamic data works. So either go through the inserter and add a heading, or you go through the side favorites panel. I can't remember what the name is called, but the side favorites panel, also I'll call it for today. You add the heading there, and let me just add, so heading, then let me see, what data do I have from my meta box? So under meta box, and then exactly, the live streams are if there are no distractions in the live stream, then how can it be fun? Yeah. So yeah, let's see. So go to the meta box. So I can just use command UI and just say go to meta box and custom fields, and then I'll look for my recipe field group. So under my recipes, the field groups I have, you'll notice that there are some changes in MetaBox. They have a new UI now for MetaBox. So I have short description, long description, prep time, cooking time, added time, servings. I'm just going to be dropping all of these elements. The styling, like I said, I'm not really focused on styling today. I know I should be, but I'm not. So I'll say one paragraph for my short description. So that is in the wrong place. Let's move this up. So heading paragraph. So let me click on the right container, and then I'll add extra. So long description, then, or maybe the long description should be, yeah, it's a text area field. So I'll just use a paragraph tag. Then I'll say maybe a div, and within that div, I'll add 4 more for the number fields. And let's just say I'm leaving, or let's add 1 more image for my featured image. So just after the heading, so I'll put, yeah, so let's just say these are the fields I have. So let's start adding dynamic data. So first, I'll go to my heading, and to add dynamic data, like every other builder you know, they always have this dynamic stack kind of icon that tells you that it's dynamic data. It's good that all of the builders are using similar icons, because that reduces the stress on the brain to remember what icon does what. Because if each builder is using a unique icon different from other builders, then you have to kind of like keep remembering or learning too many builders, and that's not good for the brain. So in this case, so the dynamic stack icon, so let me first delete this text, because it allows you to add inline dynamic data. Soon once you understand how all of this dynamic data is constructed, sometimes you might not even need to start using the dynamic stack and just add the data yourself easily. But for now, I'll just go with it. There are 2 options. Once you open it there are 3 options. So we have first you see this select field called all. That's in a way to help you to restrict what dynamic data content you're looking for. If you click on that all, it gives you all of the dynamic data that are available for now. So we have all, you have the site-based ones. Those are like your cookie parameter, your site name, and all of that. You have ones for post, which is specific to like the post. You have the ones for user, and because I'm using MetaBox, so you have the ones from MetaBox as well. But yeah, the first one we're looking for is, I'm just going to go with post and say I'm looking for the post title. So I'll just search for title. And you see how it is composed. Builderius uses GraphQL and some other things like that to construct its dynamic data. So I'll be showing you with the dynamic data later. But yeah, you can see what it's doing is, okay, I'm accessing the WP object, and then within there, I'm looking at the post, and that post, I'm returning the title. So that's what all this is saying. So I'm returning the WP object post title. Then let's say I want to make it the H1. Yeah, when it comes to H1 to H6, those are very important. Please use the right heading level for the right element. I was just talking about some other kind of dynamic data, other kind of tags when I was talking before, but semantic HTML is very important. So use that. So the next one is image. For the featured image, I want to get my featured image using dynamic data. So what I'm going to look at is the URL. So I'll go to dynamic tag, and then I'll search for, I think, image or thumbnail. I can't remember. Yeah, featured image. And there are 3 options here. You can get the featured image file URL, the caption, and the alt text. I need the URL. So do you want which version do you want to return? In this case, let me say I want to return the large. And you see how it is composed. So it's the same thing. It's getting the post object, the WP post, then featured underscore image, then file underscore URL, double underscore large. So it just keeps accessing the data like that. So we got our featured image. The next one is, I said it was short description. So let me see. I think for that one, let's see, short. Okay, so that's MetaBox field short description. We get our short description. There isn't really any long description. I didn't add for any post, so I can delete that. Let's just delete it. So I'll add a heading and say this is for all of my timings. So this will be maybe H2, yeah. So for the first time, I'll say maybe prep time, colon, and I'll use the dynamic data for prep time. Okay, that's one. And then I'll put it in, let's see, non-breaking space in minutes. Okay. Basically, it's going to be the same thing for all the other ones, so I can just copy and paste. Copy. The next one is cook time. I think that's what I called it. Was that it? Or cooking time? Let's see. I called it, yeah, cook time. Cook. Or maybe that's not it. So let me just add the dynamic data directly. So cook time. Okay. Interesting. Maybe, okay, yeah, I forgot one of the underscores. Then the next one is added time. So you'll see some other nice things you can do with this soon. So added time. I think that one there's no data, so I can delete it. I never added any added time for any of them. You can actually use some dynamic conditions to hide elements based on available data, but for now we'll leave it. I don't know if they've added the UI yet, because I think you still have to use. Okay, yes, they've added the UI. Okay, MetaBox. added, no, meta. Okay, I think. Okay, yeah, dynamic data, then the data added time is okay, it's not empty. Yeah. So yeah, so to hide it. So you can so basically Builderius is already fully featured. It has dynamic data, it has dynamic conditions, you have dynamic attributes, which I'll show as well, and other things, and some other powerful things. So the last one I will add is total time. So let me just do one thing called total time. I think if I remember it correctly. Oh yeah. So yeah, I was taking too long. So now let's say you want to add these two time together. How do we do expressions here? I forgot again. We do expressions. There's a way to do so with Builderius. There's a good way to do expressions where you can add multiple time together. So let's see if I can remember it, or let me just see. I think I wrote this. I tested it out yesterday, and I forgot. So hopefully somebody in the chat will tell me how to do it. So basically what I want to do is say prep time. I think it's something about int val. If I remember, let me see. So I'll start with cooking time or prep time. Then I think I will do a function in there. Let's see. I'm just trying to look at my other screen to see if I remember how I wrote it, or at least how I was told to write it. Okay, so okay, so yeah. Okay, so the dynamic data, then okay, I think it is int val like that. Yeah, then I'll say plus, right? Plus, because it's usually all of these dynamic data are returned as strings. That's why I'm using int val to return it as a number, not a string. Then I think I'll then say cook time. I hope I get it right. Yeah, okay, that's it. So basically, the same way you have, I'm always using dynamic shortcodes, and I can, volume, yeah, he just gave me the formula. So basically, int val, you can do addition. You can literally, this is something that's not in other builders. Other builders have always been using dynamic shortcodes to accomplish this. But now with Builderius, you can do it like natively. So you can basically add two dynamic data together. So first I change it to a number, then I use the plus within these two square brackets. The two square brackets is what starts the dynamic data, and then if you want it to be unsigned, you can make it unescaped. I mean, you can do that for some specific dynamic data that will now make it have three square brackets basically. But yeah, so this is how you can just quickly get. Let me add non-breaking space again. So you can do some kind of like formulas. I think you can also say you want to also divide by, maybe say I want to divide by 5. Oh no, is that divide? 25. Is it divide by, or is it? No, that's a minus. Okay, I got it wrong. I will have to look at the documentation is not yet out, or at least the new documentation is not out yet. So that's why I'm still figuring it out with code. Some of these things will have some UI to help you out. Some of them you'd have to like read the documentation to see how it is easily. But yeah, you can apply dynamic data how you want. And once I'm done here, I believe once I've saved it, I know it's not styled, but if you now go to the front end, let's go to one of the recipes. So let me go to recipes, and I'll preview one of them now. You can see my new very ugly design has come up. The heading, the featured image, my timings, and everything is all added. Okay, so it said add parentheses to all, and then okay. Oh yeah. How did I forget how maths work? That's why, because my maths, the divide was happening before the addition. Thank you for that. Oh, that's how I've forgotten how maths work. So I'm supposed to, is it close that and then divided by 5, right? Yeah. I forgot how maths work. Thank you. So, yep. So it's working perfectly. So we have that. Then, what else do we need? Okay. So we can, that's it for the design here, and then you can get your, once you save it, it will come. So if I save, now it will show me, I think 4. Yeah, 4. But I don't need that. I need the actual total time. So let's delete that. I should hide the cook time. Why should I hide the cook time? It's to hide the cook time. Oh, sorry. I think my, okay, so let's see which of them is the cook time. Oh, that's why it's always good to name all of these fields. So let's say I want to name the fields. If you click on any of the fields, you see the names here is paragraph, which is very, confusing. If you want to name it, you go over to the top left of your screen. Oh, okay. Excellent. Oh, no, this is classic waffles. Oh, yeah. Oh, excellent. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. I didn't notice that. So I should hide that as well. But first, let me want to rename the field. So let's say I want to rename this field from paragraph. All you do is just, I think this is one thing they should change. If you double click on this name, it is highlighted, or I think triple click is highlighted, but it doesn't show any highlight sign. If I press delete, it deletes it. So they should add some selection color to the name. But yeah, now I can name it. The first one was cook time. And my screen has gone off again. Or at least one of my screens. Okay, cook time. Okay, and then the next one is, let's say, oh, the first one is prep time. See, prep time. The next one is cook time. And like I said, I should add some dynamic data condition. So I'll click on the condition, new condition. The condition is dynamic data. And the data is, I want the cook time should have a value. So if it's not empty, then it should show up. I can now save it. So now for this avocado egg salad, now if there's no cook time, it will show up. And let me go ahead and make sure I remove this option that I did before, this divided by 5, so it doesn't mess up with the timing. Okay. I guess we can also say if the prep time, no, that is just too much conditions, so let me just forget about it. Okay, so we have the layout. So this is how you can just easily create your templates for your single post. Ideally, you will style it, add some CSS. Like for example, you can say maybe the heading should be, or the image should have a rounded border. So you can either choose to use local and style it here, or you can give it a class name. Either one works. Okay, the question says, do we see any style indicator in tabs and at responsive breakpoint devices. I think there are none for the breakpoints, but once you add a style anywhere, it shows you in the tab. So let's say I add, for example, for this image, in fact, let me just use custom CSS first and say maybe border radius. It also has autocomplete. So there is one very cool thing about Builderius. There's autocomplete. I can say border radius is, if I do double hyphen, it will also autocomplete the VAR for me. So let's say I want to make it radius M. So it will autocomplete the var. So I get my border radius. I can put some padding. Let's say padding. Should I use block? No, let me just use top and bottom. You can also use padding block if you want. So padding block. Oh, I don't know if it will show up in the builder directly. Let's say for space. Ideally, you add something better. Like you have a contextual variable, but I'm just using space M here. And let's see, if I go back to the builder, you should see what are the things I added. I added border radius, so it should appear under border. You can. Oh, it didn't show the. Oh yeah, it showed the dot. Yeah, the borders showed the dot, and then because I used padding block, which is logical property, it added it under the advanced tab. So if you go under advanced tab, you see my padding block there. So you can change it in the advanced tab. If there is no UI directly for your CSS, it will create an advanced option and then put your CSS there so that you don't miss it out. So it will still be active. So yeah, so that's one thing about Builderius. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I think it also shows you if I put, like for colors, right? Yeah, if you have a color, it will show you the color as well when you're putting your variable and other things. So basically, it just has some nice VS Code type of design that is very, very nice. Then if you want to use breakpoints, you can use this double hyphen desktop, tablet, mobile. It will auto convert it into the correct name. So when you do that, your max at media, then the width is desktop. It will auto convert it to the correct option, which in this case is max width 1279 pixels. So basically these are just placeholders that you add and then it gets replaced in the CSS. So yeah. Okay. So we have that. The other nice feature with Builderius, like I said, is that every attribute is exposed to you. So if you go under your content, I put my image there as URL. I can put my alt text. If you now go under attributes, every of those attributes will now be exposed to you. Anyone that you've added content to. So let's say I added an alt text of hi. This is an alt text. If you go under attribute, you now see the alt text is added there. So if you want to add it as maybe directly as attributes, so you can apply some dynamic data, you can do it here, or you can add it in the options provided. So they always give you like multiple options to access anything you want to access, to just make it easy for you. Okay, so let's see. Color HSL value, color OCLH value. Okay, let me see what happens. Let me just give me 1 minute so that I can restart my chat, because the chat has sort of disappeared from my screen. Let's stop my chat and then reactivate it. Did it work? Stop. Let me just close it and then do social. My chat, I don't know, after some inactivity on my end, it just stops working after a while. So I have to literally go and reactivate it. Otherwise, it will just not show. Okay, so I think that should do it. Then, okay, yeah. So I think it's showing for me now. Oh, hey, Webinar, Jimmy, thank you for joining in today. It was nice having you here. And yeah, the question that we're answering says, what happens when a value has a fallback, e.g., color HSL value, color OKLCH value? So let's see what does. Let me go to my. Let's see under. Hi, Ashutosh. I know you're more of a Builderius. Oh, sorry, GrainShift user. But yeah, we're exploring Builderius today. Okay, so let's go back to the H1. H1, the style. Let's go to CSS, and I'm going to use local today. I'm not adding any class name. So say color HSL 100 comma 2 no let's say 100 comma 10% comma was this, do we need commas? I can't remember now. 10%, 15%, right? And just leave it at that. Let me say 120 and 90%. Okay, so yeah. Then the OKLCH, so color again. OKLCH. The lightness value, I have no idea how to calculate this. So let's look for a converter. OKLCH generator. Okay, so let's just put a random color. So that will be 0.7, 0.1, and 43. 0.7, 0.1, 43. Okay, so yeah, as usual, the bottom one will overwrite. So now let's see what happens in the builder itself. So I deactivate CSS under typography. So it will take on the second color. And yeah, that's it. It just shows you the most recent color that you added. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, exactly. Like Ashutosh said, that Builderius is still quite cheap right now, so it would be nice to get it. And like, let me just mention it again. You can use my affiliate link if you want to help me out. Builderius. So let's see. If you want to help me out, you can just use the affiliate link, and that will be helpful to me. Okay. Yeah, in the UI, only one is visible. Yeah, so this is the one that I put. OKLCH, as you can see it in the builder. OKLCH 0.7, 0.143, and that's what is showing up in the screen. The first one, because it's basically, okay, it basically gets overwritten. So the first one disappears, and then the second one takes over. So that's something that I guess happens. It only takes on one of the values. It overrides the second value. But yeah, with fallbacks, I guess fallbacks, you normally won't just use CSS variables and use that fallback CSS variable. So that is one way to go. So you can always do that fallback CSS variable. But yeah. Yeah, so then what else? And okay, so what else do we have? So yeah, we are done with the styling, and I've shown you dynamic data. So now let's try with the loops. You'll also see some nice features that are different from other builders with how you generate loops in Builderius. So let me go ahead and save this page, and we'll go over to maybe my about page and edit that. So let's edit the about page. edit with breaks. Oh, sorry, edit with Builderius. Let's see. Okay. So let's say in this page, I want to loop through all of my recipes and show you the like a loop of recipes. How you do it in Builderius is in two-fold method. The first thing you need to do is you need to generate your query for your loop, because basically the thing we're going to be using is called the collections. So let's say I go ahead and add a collection first. So let me start with okay, I'm already in a section and I want to add my list of elements. So I'll add a collection. So under my container, add a collection. So this collection is basically how to manipulate dynamic data. When you want to manipulate repeater dynamic data, you use collections. And then within the collection, let's see if I can scroll down. You can either choose to use a custom, so that will be mostly divs, or you can use UL or use OL. So anyone you want. So let's say in this case, I want to use a UL. So I'll click on UL. So that now generates it as a UL. Then the next thing you need to do is you now have to get where's your data source. I think you can even just create your, basically the data source is JSON returned value. So you can either write your data source manually in this option if you know your source, like your JSON data, or you can use dynamic data. So I'll just choose dynamic data, but right now there isn't really any dynamic data created because I've not created any loop yet. The only loop that is created by default is the nav menu item loop. So you can use the nav menu item loop, primary, and that will just loop through all of my primary nav menus. So if I just go to my template now and I choose something like a heading, let's say heading, or no, a link. So link. No, sorry, we have a UL. So in the template, I need to create an li in my template first. So list item. Then within that list item, I want to add a link. So link. Because what happens with Builderius is first you have your collection. Within that collection comes a template. That template is what is going to be repeating. So it is a blank template. So what you want to repeat is your li. So you now have to add an li into your template that I want to repeat that li. So the nice thing is that you can have maybe a static value above the template, then your template, then a static value after the template if you need to do that. Anyhow. So when you have the li, the anchor tag now, within the anchor, I can now put in my dynamic data. So if you click on the dynamic data tag, you can see all of the options that are available to you under the heading loop. So we can get the loop index. This just basically gives us the number of the index, 1, 2, and so on. I think you can also do that. I believe you should be able to just do int val and, right? Int val and +1. Yep. And then you can get, if you want to start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can do that. That's if you want to get the index. Otherwise, sorry, this list item is coming from a text that I added. So on my anchor, if you don't want, you want to get the title, you want to get the loop index, the object ID, the classes, and the URL. So in this case, we want title. So I'll click on title. And now we get all of my titles of all of my nav. This is coming from, if I go to appearance and menus, I created a menu called primary, and this has my 5 items. That's why in the builder, you'll notice if I go to my collection, it has this WP nav menu. Then which type of nav menu is this? The primary nav menu. And then what am I trying to retrieve? I'm trying to retrieve the items in the nav menu. So this is already an inbuilt collection that was created, or an inbuilt snippet that was created to be able to retrieve your nav menu items. So it's very easy. And if you want to get the link, same thing, just dynamic tag and URL, and you've gotten your links. So simple and easy. But this is for regular dynamic data from the nav. Now I'm trying to return all of my recipes. So how do I do that? I'll go back to my collection, which is the UL. Then this time, I'll delete the current one that we have there. We need to create our own source because this is not available here for the posts. So to create your own source, only in the Pro version, you now have this option called dynamic data at the bottom of the page. So there is custom CSS, which shows you all of your custom CSS of your entire page, then JavaScript, then libraries, then they will also add accessibility and shortcuts. Those are coming in later. So for now, the main one that has come up is the dynamic data. So I'll click on that. We now get the option to create our own dynamic data. If you are a dynamic shortcode user, think of this like a power shortcode. You are creating your own power shortcode. In this case, we're creating our own query or our own dynamic data. The first thing you do is, you've always seen the other ones, they always started with WP dot. So that WP dot, that is the variable name. So we have to create our own variable name first. So I'll click on variable. And in this case, I'll say maybe it is recipe, because I'm creating a variable for things that have to relate to my recipe. Save and edit. Then within this whole place, first you now have to get the object. So you can do it manually. Maybe I will start with manual, or I like writing things from scratch. I don't know why, but if you don't want to write it from scratch, we have what we call snippets. So you say snippets. This just basically gives you a list of predefined snippets. So for example, I want post query. So I think it's called query. Yeah, that's called custom posts query. So you want to do that. It will now say snippet is copied to clipboard. Then all you have to do now is delete what is there and paste. So it now generates a snippet for you. And this is how the snippet is. It gives you all of the possible options that it thinks you may want to use. So first we start with our query, which is the post query. And then it's querying. It's basically like your WP query, the same way you have it. But Builderius uses, if you can see at the top there, it says it uses GraphQL. So that's what it uses. The reason why it's using GraphQL, because GraphQL, unlike the REST API gives you too much information. Whereas GraphQL will give you just the information you need, and you can get information from multiple sources, combine them into one query, and present that one query to the user. So it's a bit more efficient than the REST API, but the REST API is simpler to use, which is what most builders use, but they chose to use GraphQL. So now let's say with this one, if you now do get data, that will now basically save your snippet and generate the data for you. So now, as you can see, what is now returning is post ID, post title, because this is the query, and this is all of the information you are saying that you want to return from the query, your data structure that you want to return from that query. So these are only the information, and you can now use it. Whereas if I was using something like the REST API, it will have given me tons of information that's become so overwhelming that you have to start scrolling to find the information. In this one, the only information I'm getting is ID, title, excerpt, date, featured image, and so on. And that's how I can, in fact, let me even show you how easy it is to recreate this whole snippet. So let's go ahead and close this data first, and I will delete it. So we'll start from scratch. First thing we need to do is we have to open it's kind of like your JSON. It always has to have an opening and closing curly bracket. Then what I wanted to do, I'm trying to get a query of posts. So I'll just start typing post, and you see post query there. It will automatically fill in the information for you that we need arguments and we need this data structure. So for the arguments, first argument I want is what's my post type. So I'll say post type, and in this case my post type I think it was called recipes with an S, I hope. You can choose to add comma or not, it will still work. Then I'll say post per page. So let's just write post per, no, let's, I think normally it's supposed to just give me, yeah, post per page. I'll say maybe 3. Since it's a number, you don't need to put it in quotes, but you, I think is better. Oh yeah, I think since it's a number, you don't need to put it in quotes. I'll test it and see. Then you can say, okay, I've gotten my post type, my recipes, and then my post per page. Then you can add other query like your taxonomy query, your meta query, all of those regular information. You can do that here. Then what is the data you want to return? I think usually we want to get the ID in case we want to do something else. So I'll just write ID. I think then, oh look, what just happened? It's supposed to show me, oh no, sorry, I supposed to start, I have to start with what am I returning from that query. I'm returning my posts first. I always get confused. Yeah, posts. So within these posts, the objects I want to return, or the values I want to return are things like my ID. It will show you all of the possible values that you can return from that query, which is quite nice. So the next one I want to return is my post title. So let's see. If you go on that post, you can return post title, post content, post date, post excerpt, and so on. So let's say I want to return the post title, I want to return the excerpt, then maybe a meta box value. So for ACF and meta box, you have to type the name first. So that's meta. You now see meta box, and I want to return a meta box value. And I think I don't need this option name. Let's just remove that. The field ID is, if I go to my meta box, I think this is the only kind of like small extra feature work you have to do, is that you have to know the key of your values that you're trying to return. So in this case, I want to return, let's say, the short description. So just copy that ID and paste it in this my field ID. Now we can say get data, and you see it returns just the data that I asked for. I requested for the ID, it returned it. Post title, it returned it. Post excerpt, the meta box value, and that's it. So now we can use this value in our query. So all I'll do is now minimize my dynamic data, come back to my collection, choose dynamic tags, and what did I call it? I called it recipe. So I'll just search for recipe, and it should give me, yeah, so that is the query. So you can see now it's called, the name I gave as the variable name, recipe dot, then the actual object, which is the post query, and then within that post query, it is returning my posts, because that's the name I gave it as posts, or that's what I was returning. So now I said I only wanted 3 posts, which is why it's returning only 3 values. If I come to my anchor, let's delete the anchor. Let's say just the li, I want to return the title. So once you use that dynamic tag, now it will only give you all of the data that you returned from that dynamic data option. That's all that will show up here under loop. So the things that I added was the title. So that's why you can get the title now of your post. If you want to add other things, in fact, I can just write comma, just so that you can see all of the data in one go. I can get my ID, so that's my post ID. I'll put a comma. I can get, what else did I do? The meta box value. And that is the information. But now you notice that it is all nice and good, but sometimes it can get a bit confusing. For example, having to write meta box underscore value, it doesn't really mean anything. Post title might not mean anything to somebody. So if you want to have a better, nicer name, it is always good to give them names. So they've come up with a nice solution. And let's say for my meta box value now, rather than just this generic meta box value, I can now give it a name and say something like excerpt column. So when you put this is like a variable name. So variable name column and then the value. So now it now becomes the alias of whatever function that you wanted to create in the first place. So if I now right now you can see it's telling me meta box underscore value, but the moment I say get data, it now changes the name to excerpt. It has now replaced that name with an alias to make it easier for me to use. So for title, I can just say title column and then return. Now the title is that. So if I go back to my query, now it now becomes easier for me to return the values. So I can just think about it and say, oh, I want to return the title because that's the name I gave it. So title. I want to return the excerpt because that's the name I gave it. I don't need to start even using this dynamic tag stack again. I can use this dynamic stack, but because I named it myself, I know what name I gave it. So I can just say, open the curly brace twice for sanitized values. So I'll say twice and I just say excerpt. And it gives me the excerpt because I'm in a loop. Yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. That when you are working in the loop, it's basically, you don't need to add all of those extra data, wp dot post dot extra, because you've already created the loop. You're now in the loop. All you're just returning is the value from the loop, and you see that it is using curly brackets, not square brackets. Once you are outside of a loop, for example, let's say the title, it uses square brackets, and you have to now start using this object thing about wp.post.title to get the title. When you are in the loop, you've already gotten access to the query. You're just returning the key value pairs or the keys. So inside the loop, it is curly brackets, and it's just the name that you need, the title, the ID, excerpt, and so on and so forth. Yep, exactly. AI will be very helpful in all of this creating of queries. So yeah, that will be, I think they will do that. But that's one nice thing with the dynamic data, and just similar to what I did before with manipulating data, you can also manipulate the data here. So for example, let's say I was trying to get the meta box value, and I don't know, I don't think the option name is needed. I might be wrong. Let me just delete that. The meta box value, the field ID of, let's say, the cook time. Okay, so I'll copy cook time and prep time. So cook time, and I'll get the next one, which is prep time. So let's get data. I just broke. Oh yeah, so that's one reason why we should use aliases. Something about GraphQL is that it doesn't like when two things have the same name. You see that it gives you this underline, this error. They should not have the same name because at the moment, both of them will return the name as meta box value. So you need to give it an alias so that it doesn't break. So the first one, I'll say it is called prep time, and then colon, and you see it will go away. The error goes away. Second one is cook underscore time, colon, and now the error goes away. So now when I get data, so we now have those names that I've given it: ID, title, the excerpt. I don't have any excerpt, so that's why it's always blank. The post excerpt is always blank. In fact, I should just get rid of that because I didn't add any post excerpt to any of the pages, and I didn't even add any post content. So that's why the excerpt cannot even generate from the post content, because I just used only meta box values. So that's ID, title, excerpt, prep time, cook time. So now let's say the same way I was manipulating data in my dynamic data, I can manipulate data in the query itself as well using the same option, but in this case it will be called expression result. So I'll first start with my key, which is, let's say, total time colon, and then I'll use what, if you use Control I or Command I if you're on a Mac, it tells you everything that you can use within this function. And the one we're looking for is called, I think it should be at the bottom. Oh no, it's not there. It's somewhere here. It's called expression result. So the same way I was able to use that, manipulate using those addition, subtraction, and things like that, I can do that here as well. So I can say I want to get, I think it's just, is it now, is it prep time? Let's see. Get data. No, that's not it. I did this just this morning and I've forgotten again. But let me see if I wrote the snippet in my other screen. Just quickly get it. This is why I should have been preparing better. Prep should be prep time, right? Expression result. Expression prep time was returning blank. Why? I will, once I remember how to do it, I will get back to you guys. But it should work. Let me just use a regular value here and say 25. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I broke something. So it should actually be working, but it's not working now because I'm using the wrong. I broke something on my demo site, which was fixed on another demo site. But yeah, basically with the expression is the same way you do it, that you now be able to add basically values, the variables, and everything will work. Unfortunately, it will work in the actual release, and once I figured it out properly, it will work. But yeah, you can use expression value to do like arithmetic expressions. You can also do things like PHP functions. So let me get rid of the expression value first, and I can do a PHP function. So for example, let's say I want to get the current date. So I think it is called PHP function output. Then I'll give the function name, which I think is called date. And I think the other thing is it variables or arguments? I think it's arguments. Let's see. Let me be sure. I think it's arguments. Yeah, arguments. And I'll say it is YMD. Is that it? No. If anybody can help me out, I'll just quickly look for it. I wrote the snippet somewhere when I was testing because they have a documentation for the old version, which is what I was using to like figure out some of the options, but I may be, wait, it's closed. Okay, let me use double curly brackets and see if that's double. Okay, yeah, sorry, I had to use double quotes. So you see, I can get the current, basically you can run any PHP function using this PHP underscore function underscore output to run any PHP function. So you can do it either here in your query or using your dynamic data. So basically it's working like how dynamic shortcodes worked for me in other builders. That's how this works in Builderius. So you can do, but just that the syntax is a little different. So that's why I have to figure out the syntax properly. The two syntax things you need to know is this PHP function output for any PHP function. So anything from your child theme, from the regular WP function like WP trim words, all those kind of PHP functions, you can just run them here. So I think let me try one and say WP trim words, and the argument is, let's say, no, sorry, trim words 25. Oh yeah, I'll have to learn. I think the trim words, the arguments are usually, first is the what you are trimming, right? Let's see. WP trim words PHP. So first is the text you're trying to trim, and then how many characters. So the text is, let's see, David is a good man, and the characters are 25, 10. Let's see if that works. I hope I'm literally just trying to figure it out here as well. No, so that didn't work. Or is it less than 10? Okay, let me just say 2. Let's see if that works. David is a, okay, yeah, so that's why 2 words. Okay, yeah, it's working. So basically, so you can work with any function. So basically you give the function name and then you give the arguments to the function. If you look at the WP trim words, this is the function name, WP trim words, and these are the arguments in the straight brackets. So the first is the text you want to trim, and then how many characters you want to trim it by. And that's how it is. So it gives me David is, and then ... So you can use that. Name is called total time. So if I hide it and then I put the total underscore time, it should give me that David is ... type of thing. So yeah. Okay. So these are the options, and like I said, you can also do it directly in your function here, so you don't really need to add that code in the dynamic data. You can add it here. So let's say for like this excerpt, now I can run that function. I think it's, I just have to write the function name, WP trim words, put that in brackets, and then comma 20. Does that work? No. I'll figure it out later. But yeah, it should be something like this, where you can basically run your function directly here as well. You don't actually have to do it in the dynamic data. So you can do it in 2 ways, depending on what data is being returned and how you want to manipulate the data. But yeah, whenever you are stuck, you just go to snippets and then you search for your snippets. If you have like ACF repeater field, you can just search for repeater and you click on that. It will copy the snippet to the clipboard, and then you can now use that snippet in your function whenever you need it. And yeah, so that's it for dynamic data. The last one I'll just quickly run through is the components. I don't know how much time have we spent. Oh boy, we have spent a lot of time. So maybe I'll just quickly show you components just briefly. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And we'll go from there. No, I don't. Yeah, okay. So let's see. I'll quickly just, let's say I want to convert this feature card into a component. All I'll do is just, so I have 3 of them. They are basically the same design. So I'll just click on one, right click, and say create component. I'll give the component a name. So I'll say feature card. Save and open. And now the feature card has become a component, and it's not going to open a new page. It's just opening a new tab, so you can edit and just quickly go back and front between the page and the component, all in the same page. So now this is the component. Okay, we'll look at the menu builder as well. VJ said, can you explore menu builder as well? This is something all builders are messing up, so I will look at that as well. So let me just quickly show you the components, then we'll look at the menu builder and we'll wrap it up. So I've created my design already. So this is the design. Let's just say this is the design. I've added all the styles, although I haven't added any style yet, but just believe that there are styles added. Then all you now do is create what we call properties, and then you connect the properties to the different portions of your code. So the first one is the image, because I use an image. So property, and I'll say this will be the image URL, I think. The default value, nothing. Then, because with Builderius, everything is, like I said, it's an attribute. So the image is actually the URL you'll be affecting. You can also affect the alt text of the image and things like that. So I can say image alt, because they're all attributes. Then the next one will be the heading. You can give it a default value of maybe heading. Then the next one will be the description. I'll say lower. This is just a placeholder description. Okay, so now we have our 4 properties that are needed. Or I mean, 4 properties. So I'll save it. Then we can now start connecting those properties to our different components. So let's go to the image. There's the image. Okay, so this is one I connected to as a component. So that's one is editing. So this is the image. Then the URL, you see this plus icon. That's what you are going to use. I'll click on the plus icon, and then I'll connect it to the image URL. Alt text plus icon, connect it to the alt text. For the heading, plus icon, connect it to the heading. And paragraph, plus icon, connect it to the description. And you see, everything has been connected, and that's it. You save, and you can either just quickly switch back. So I'm back in the builder, and now I can start deleting all the other ones. So let's say I want to create a new component. This is one, and so you can just go to properties, the image URL. I think this is the only difference where they might have to. I think they said they are adding some more UI features. So this is, at the moment, it's just simple texts and a repeater. So you can use a text and you can use repeater, but basically everything is text. I think in future versions they will add better UI, so for images and all of that. So now what I can do is I'll go to my media library, and so it's a bit of a long one, but yeah, copy URL, paste. So my image has gotten there. The image alt text is going to be blank, so nothing. For the heading, I'll say component 1. And the placeholder text, you can add something else. This is not for public use. So things like that. If you want, again, you just duplicate it and you get your next component. I can delete all of the other cards that I created before. And yeah, we get our component. You can easily edit it, style it, add dynamic data, add attributes. You can, if you want to like add custom classes for variations, you can do that. Just go to your component, edit it. It will open the component. Then I think there are 2 ways to edit the component. I think you don't really need to open in a new tab, if I remember correctly. But yeah, just edit it. Then you can say maybe another new property is classes for your style variation. So I'll say class, or yeah, class. So hopefully I think they will also add things like select fields, not just text. So maybe select, they will add image and all the other properties you've come to know. But for now, it's just purely text based. and the default is maybe dot is let me see, something like bg primary, although there's no class like that added. But yeah, so what I can now do is we can now connect that to maybe the card, the attributes, add attributes, I'll say class, and connect that property of class. And now we have a class, so that whenever we want to change styles, we can just use the classes to change the styles of the image, or we can even affect the style tab. You can affect anything you want. Basically, it gives you full access to that's one thing about Builderius that I think is slightly better than many of the other builders, is that many of them, they give you restrictions of what you can access. But with Builderius, literally, because you have access to attributes and every attribute is exposed, so you can affect everything from the source file of the image to anything you want to. The only thing you can't access is basically anything to do with CSS, because styles are saved in style sheets. They're not component-based type of things. So that's why you'd ideally use classes. So you create some classes, save them globally, and then you can now use those classes as your style variations for your components. But you can connect your attributes also to your conditions. So even in the conditions, you can like add a condition, and I think, let me see, dynamic data. Where's dynamic data? And then you can now connect the condition to your component properties, so they can like basically show or hide different elements based on conditions. Hopefully they will add the UI for all of those, like toggle switch, the image, the other things later. But for now, you have to use text to add your conditions. So yeah, that's it for the majority of the styles. So the last one we're going to look at is the menu builder. So for that, let me quickly switch to a pre-built one, because let me just switch back to this standard view, and we'll take a look at the. So yeah, let me go to a page. Let's say the about page, and edit with Builderius. Okay, so I'll go to my site header, edit it, edit component. So this is the component. So with the way the menu builder works is that so they give you, okay, let me connect it to the right data source. So this data source is under the UL, I think, this dynamic stack thing, because it's connected to the wrong. I renamed my. Oh no, let me just use, just to be accurate, I'll choose nav menu and primary, because I renamed it to primary. Before, by default, the name is main navigation, but I like just naming my own primary. So when I changed the name in under appearance, so it affected the editor. So now you can see my classes is now showing up in the builder. Let me see, how many templates did they create? They created just one collection with multiple templates. Yes. So the way Builderius works is that everything is pre-composed of divs, toggle switch, and a collection element. So if you look at it, this is a toggle switch for your button. I basically just toggles between close and open. Toggle switch, all within what they call the menu builder. So let me go ahead and open a new menu builder. So let's see how we can build one from scratch. You have to basically build it yourself. So you have to add so many things yourself. But just look at the menu. It's called the menu builder. If I click on it, where was it? Okay, it was added. Where was it added to? Okay, sorry, wrong place. Okay, so that's the menu builder. It comes pre-composed with all of the necessary information you need. All you have to do is go over to your UL, which is the dynamic component. Then make sure you have the right name. Like I said, I changed the name. I shouldn't have changed the name, but I was doing some tests, so I changed the name to primary. So that should work now. Yeah. So you can now see everything like how it is in the HTML. We have the nav, we have the UL, the template is what is being auto-generated, the li. So you can now look at how it was pre-composed. Let's look at it on the front end. Let me make sure I delete one of them first. Let's delete this one. Save. Look at it on the front end. Refresh. And this is the builder. This is what it's composed of. If you inspect it, it's exactly. So you get your nav. The only thing that some people might not like is that the components, sorry, not the components, the collections, when to get the correct data, it tends to use a lot of data attributes. So you see a very long data attribute, but this is only for collections. Every other field tends to have the right naming convention. It's only collections that have these lots of data attributes. So that's data B context that gives it basically the context of what data to retrieve. So yeah. But you can get your nav, your UL, then within the UL, you have your LIs. So you don't see any of those anything that relates to the template. All you just see is the only thing that makes you know that it's from a template, from a collection, is this long data attribute. That it is a necessary evil, basically. But then you have your li with the a tag. So if you want to like change it, first thing you do is drop in the menu builder element. Then you have to now style it on your own. So the styles are there. They are accessible. It's not like they are hidden styles. All of the styles are there. So if you go to the UL, go under the style tab, you see this thing. You can see all the styles that were there under layout, display flex, flex direction row, and so on. If you have the pro version, you click on the CSS. You see exactly all the CSS that was added. Go to the li, same thing. Display flex, and I think some of the styles were added to different. No, nothing on breakpoints, but you can see every style that was added there, and then you can manipulate it yourself. So, like I said, it is more developer focused. So you need to know exactly the HTML output you want to like retrieve. Then you get all of the options to do your whatever you want. Oh yeah, sorry, something still on. So the final quick thing I'll just show is that with the pro version, you also have the ability to add custom HTML tags. So let me just quickly show that, and then wait for any other questions. Okay, so let me go ahead and exit the header. So let's deactivate this, go back to the about. So let's say you want to add a canvas element and maybe it doesn't exist. So what you can do is add a div, and within this div, this HTML, you can now go ahead and give it the name you want. So in this case, canvas, and to tell you that does not exist. So do you want to create it? So that's the new. So the moment you create it, or let me just use field set. Field set. You want to create it? Yes. So you say new, and that's it. You have created your field set element. If you want to create a legend element as well, same thing. You add a div. That's one thing that I was talking to Igor from GreenShift about, that sometimes you may want to add some custom HTML tags. Unfortunately, with GreenShift, you have to like request for the tag, then the developer will put it into the builder. But with this one, if you have the Pro version, only in the Pro version, you can generate any tag you want if the tag does not exist in the builder. So just go ahead and create it. So let's say I want to create a legend. That's new. So now I have my field set and my legend. So if you are building out your form element, you can build out your form element exactly how you want it. So with your inputs, with your field set, your legend, anything you want, you have complete access to it. It has some security built in to protect you, basically, because you need to have some protection. But yeah, you can create the tags you want and use them. So yeah. So, and say thank you all very much for turning up and watching the live stream. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll try to get it. You can select any tag. Yeah, so that's the difference. Like I was saying, with Greenlight and GreenShift, you can select any tag, but not every tag exists there, because it requires some security features. So he gives you as much tags as possible, but there are some tags that are not existing there. Like that's why, like, I think 2 weeks ago, I had to request to add the M tag and the let me just put it. Okay. The M tag and the strong tag, they were not existing, but it's very easy for him to fix it. So he is very quick at adding tags, as long as you give him I'm talking about Greenlight in this case. As long as you give him the reason why you need that tag, in the next update he will add the tag. But it's not like you can add the tag yourself, a custom tag yourself, basically. Yeah. So any other questions, any comments? So yeah, yeah, okay, thank you all for tuning in today. I think the Pro version should be released anytime soon. This is just a walkthrough to figure out any bugs. I noticed some bugs which I will send to them. Once those bugs are fixed, I believe the Pro version should be out within a very short time. So yeah, we can now expect it. And yeah. Okay, yeah, and then yeah, there was just in the comments they were talking about the ACPT. We had a private discussion about ACPT, so that's for that. Okay, yeah. So thank you all very much for tuning in today. I'll see you again next week for another live stream. That one will most likely be shorter. This live stream, because this is my first time trying out Builderius Pro, so it took a long time. But subsequent live streams will be kept to about an hour or less. So yeah. So I'll see you all next week, and expect some regular content in terms of videos from now on. And okay.